On mute. Sorry, guys. Apologies for the delay here. I got engrossed in obviously the Bees and Spurs preview. I was just doing previously to this, obviously with Harry, the Spurs fan. So it was really good. Really enjoyed that stream. A lot to talk about with that. Obviously, our first game on Saturday. Really looking forward to it. Very excited for that game. And he's a great guy, Harry. Even though he supports Spurs, but no one's perfect, are they? So, but he's top bloke, and just hope we beat him on Saturday, though. Sorry, Harry, but hope we beat you. But anyway, go and check that one out. It's a great stream, and his channel at Hasper TV. Go and check that one out, guys. Brilliant channel. As all the Tottenham lot are, the other lads, Eugene and the rest of them, all great lads. So go and check them out. But obviously, we're actually going to talk about cricket in this one. Yeah, getting into the cricket, which is starting on Wednesday. Obviously, the Test series against Pakistan. And plenty to talk about with this, a new era, a new head coach. We got the coach. Some of us didn't exactly want him, not the one we picked, but we got him now, and actually seems like quite a good choice, actually. And now do we call it Flemball because it's Stephen Fleming? Is it now Flemball, which don't sound any very good, does it? Sounds pretty bad. Calling it that. And of course, we got Joe Root back as captain. Whether he did actually want it, who knows? Well, he seemed like he was happy to take it, captaincy, but at one stage I didn't think he wanted it. But he was probably the only choice in the way, so it was a no-brainer. And I think he'd do better this time around. No COVID, because he obviously took over when COVID was around, and that didn't help either. And of course, he lost a lot of games at the end as well, and that wasn't good. In the Ashes and so forth, but not a great record, but he's got a second chance, and I think he'll do better this time. I really do. I really think he will do, and he's a great player, as we know, and the top guy as well. And I think he'll do really well with Fleming as well. I mean, I think the thing with Fleming is he gets on with McCullum, as we all know, being another Kiwi as well, and I think that was important in a way as well, that we got somebody who could get on with him, as he's a one-day or white ball coach, obviously. So that's very important. Yep. So I'll bring my guest on very soon now, Manny, as well. I'm going to bring him on very soon. And we're going to get into it. There's plenty to chat about. Obviously got articles here we can discuss, so but I'll bring Manny on first. Be up to you, brother. Hope you're good.
Yeah, all good, thank you, Steve, and I'm really glad that we're able to do this. And as I said to you, I know that timing, sometimes circumstance might not be your best friend. It is probably a bit later than when you normally like to stream, so I'm going to try and make sure that we don't talk too long about this, but after the, I will say this as a sort of the preamble, as it were, that after the rather chaotic ending to the Bazball Stokes era, I'm glad that we're starting anew, and it's sort of like a return to what makes some Test cricket. And obviously, when you take a look at the playing styles and how at first it was a wonderful, change from the rather static, rather stodgy sort of style that affected our play near the end. We started off with an absolute feast, winning all of those tests in succession and providing some really exciting games. But it just angered me so much as well to see the lack of flexibility in our approach and how, many of our batsmen at the time just seemed to think that, smacking your way out of trouble was always going to be the way to win. And it just didn't. And you and I have both together torn our hair out at the number of tests we could have won but ended up not winning.
I used to have more hair than this, man. I used to have loads more hair than this. I tore it out with the cricket.
Silly me! I thought you had a haircut recently. Speaking of which, I might need a shave and a trim myself.
Well, you're all right, man. You got plenty of hair, my friend. So you're doing well, mate. So you don't lose
agreed. But I have been told that I need a haircut, and a lot of people say that having a short back and sides is really good for a bloke my age. But listen, I say you only live once. But anyway, without digressing, one particular test which really sticks in my sticks out like a sore thumb and leaves a bad taste in my mouth was the fourth test that we played against India at the Oval not too long ago.
Yeah,
that was really poignant because I believe, if memory serves me right, that was the test which encompassed the first anniversary of the passing of Graham Paul Thorpe. And I want to thank you once again. I can't thank you enough for allowing me to do that stream with Kenny Ken, where we paid tribute to one of the finest English batsmen to have played.
Legend.
And of course, he should have a special place in your heart because he was actually good enough to play for the Bees one time. Soccer team. But, you would think that a guy to sort of honour the memory of a guy like Thorpe, who would put a price on his wicket, that was a match we should have won. And I remember, Joe Root getting a fine century, and we were coasting. And then we lost all those wickets in a clump, including the guy who could have been Test captain. Thankfully, he's not, and a few others losing their wickets. And then, of course, we had the ugly side of. When I say ugly, I'm not criticising the player because the poor bloke had a shoulder injury that ended up ending his international career. But seeing Chris Woakes come out to bat with his left arm in a sling and having to effectively bat left-handed for his entire thing. It should never have come to that. And that's what really, really made me so angry. The Ashes was just, fuel to the fire. And so I think it's fair to say that in as much as we can look back on some fond memories, at the end of the day, we just weren't quite able to really, kick on with that and become a really top quality team. Now, will this necessarily guarantee a return, a chance for us to go all the way back to the top again? Not immediately. It is going to take some time. There will be some, twists and turns. But, given that Pakistan aren't exactly, going great guns themselves, it's not a bad place to start, and maybe it'll give us some confidence. And I see you've got the article up there about the team news and the pitch report. Let's see what Yahoo Sports will have to say.
Yeah, before I go into that, Manny, what did you make of Stephen Fleming's appointment? Were you happy with it or not, really?
Yeah, listen, I'm glad you asked that. And you will probably know that although I'm a little bit biased, given that I am of Indian heritage, thanks to my parents, of course, I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean, I am proud of my heritage. But when it comes to supporting national teams, it's always England over India and India over everyone else, I would say. Even Australia goes that saying. And I was telling you that because of my slight bias, I was hoping that we'd get someone like a Rahul Dravid or a Ravi Shastri in. Because both of these guys actually coached the Indian team and had no problems being able to deal with quite a few of the massive egos that were there in the team at the time. In fact, Dravid was actually quite famous for, phasing out quite a few of the senior players in the team like Cheteshwar Pujara and the now recently retired Ajinkya Rahane, when he determined that, youth would be the answer and it would be necessary to sort of bring, youth into the team. And I will still say that, brilliant servants like them don't deserve to have, such a cutthroat ending to their careers. But in sports, sometimes you don't get the ending you deserve. You don't get the fairy tale ending. But the legacy you leave will never be in doubt. And of course, we know of many sportsmen in cricket and football and other sports who fit that description. But his methods actually brought about a reasonably strong India team. And of course, he crowned his stint by winning the T20 World Cup in the West Indies. And if you remember, I know you remember that he beat us in the semi-final. We were the defending champions then. And of course, under some controversial circumstances, they beat South Africa in the final too. And not too long afterwards, like Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and Ravindra Jadeja announced their retirement from T20s. So I would have loved Dravid to come in because, in addition to having done well as a coach, he was also an absolute legend as a batsman. Probably one of my favourite Indian cricketers of all time. And certainly the way he would, apply himself well. He's actually the type of person who, would be perfect to coach a lot of our young batsmen, including a certain other Yorkie, who we don't need to name, on how to value your wicket. Now, having said that, of course, as a player, he would also, be victim to some very fast in-swinging Yorkers from even the best of bowlers. And that just goes to show that, even he had his issues, but he always worked hard on his game. And I would have loved him to have coached us. Even Ravi Shastri, who is now doing some commentary work with Sky Sports and seems to be based over there right now, as he's doing some work with the English summer and also includes the 100, I think, and some other competitions. I think he would have given up his commentary commitments to work with us. But the thing which angered me about Stephen Fleming, and we had a conversation on this on earlier stream, Steve, is that his coaching experience is limited only to franchise cricket, namely the Chennai Super Kings in the IPL and their, sibling franchises across the world. I believe it's they have one in Joburg and one in Johannesburg, rather than one in Texas, I believe. I don't know if they have one in the UK at the moment playing in the 100, but it is what it is. And so I didn't really think that he would be able to translate that to the red ball arena. And yet, having said that, as a player, he was also quite fearless, one of New Zealand's finest captains, of course, a predecessor to Brendan McCullum. And he also, as a batsman, I wouldn't necessarily say that he was stylish, but he also knew how to play some pretty good shots and find an easy balance. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you could say that he's a bit of an antithesis to how Baz played as a batsman. And I think it's fair to say that when we brought in Baz to lead the test team, we wanted to see a bit of maybe some excitement and some risk-free cricket. We didn't want to see reckless cricket. And of course, we've got
brainless. You called it brainless.
Exactly. And of course, we've got pretty good reason to remember Stephen Fleming because he was New Zealand captain who led the Black Caps the Black Caps, I think they're called, to that memorable Test Series win against us at home in 1999. And that was, a bad way to start the era of Nasser Hussain and Duncan Fletcher. Sure. And bear in mind that we had also had a disgusting home exit from the World Cup that year under Alex Stewart and David Lloyd. But, that team, of course, was coached by Steve Rickson. And they, during that period, of course, they were playing above themselves. And Rickson also, would have had some really good credentials to coach some more international teams. I think now the poor bloke's, he's become a bit old right now. I think he's gone too far away from coaching to even be called back. But someone like Fleming, I think, who's been there and done that, maybe he's gleaned quite a bit of knowledge, and maybe he could impart that to us. And in any case, I don't think he's going to take charge for the Pakistan series. It's going to be Tresco who will take up the responsibility.
So is it December he's taking charge? Is it December, November, December? Apparently?
I think so. Yes, because as you mentioned, Steve, we're going to be going to South Africa on the safari. And that's also a series which, holds some good memories, especially, when Tresco at the time was a player under Michael Vaughan. We had a terrific series over there, beating them 2-1. And then, of course, I think we also won there when Alistair Cook was captain. So we always seem to have some really good series against South Africa in South Africa. I know in terms of series, they have the upper hand. But, we always, at least more frequently than otherwise, give it as good as we get against them. And that makes me happy. So for this Pakistan series, Tresco will be leading. And I'm just glad that now that we've made the appointment, there's not going to be any talk about Tresco being given the job on a full-time basis. And knowing Tresco, the person himself and now coach, I think he'd be more than happy to be a lieutenant under Fleming rather than having the job full-time.
So, temporarily,
Exactly. And on a side note, I'm also really happy to see Tresco being heavily involved with England once again, because we both remember how his international career ended in very tragic circumstances, of course. It was a case
Got
of his
mental
demons.
depression.
Yeah, his demons. He fell victim to his demons, but I think he seems to have, gotten better to the extent that he's now heavily involved in the coaching setup, and he's not even asking to be exempt from foreign tours anymore. So I'm really, really happy.
He's good, yeah. He's superb. It's not really a really tough series he's got to take charge of. Let's be honest. But then again, you never know with Pakistan, do you? What team will turn up? Because you never know. They can come up and surprise us once again. Because they have got some really good players still. You can't forget that. They've got some good, very good bowlers, spinners, quick bowlers, and the conditions might suit them because it's dry, isn't it? The dry pitches with all this sun.
Exactly.
So, do you think? I don't think it's going to be straightforward as everyone thinks. This series, England are going to whitewash them.
It may not be straightforward. But I'm just taking a look at ESPN Cricinfo, and there is, of course, going to be some doubt over the availability of Pakistan's own returning captain, Babar Azam. He had an injury to his right hand. I think he has a finger injury, to like another of my favourite sportsmen I know. And that was, of course, sustained in the second test against the West Indies, which I believe Pakistan won. Credit to them. Some big century, of course, from Abdullah Shafiq, and Azam himself contributing with 88 in the first innings. Could have had a century, but he ended up being run out, of course. And so that was a satisfying match for him, and I think they drew the series 1-1 in the end. So that was a bit of a relief for Pakistan, but I just don't know if Azam will be cleared to play. And even if we take a look at some of the squads in question, I think we can see the Pakistan squad. Apart from the likes of Azam and maybe Mohammad Rizwan and Shan Masood and a few others, there does seem to be a decent blend of youth and experience, and certainly the spinner Sajid Khan, who tormented us when we actually toured them not too long ago under Stokes' captaincy. I remember how good he could be. So I suppose it's not necessarily a squad which is weak anatomically, if that makes any sense. But they can be very inconsistent. And performing in Pakistan on those dead tracks will be very difficult to performing on our pitches in England. Of course, there was a withdrawal. Abdullah Fazal, the opening batsman, left-hander, ended up withdrawing. And I believe he played both tests in the West Indies, if memory serves me right. No. He actually played 2 tests against Bangladesh, so he wasn't able to play in the West Indies. But his debut and his last test were, of course, about 3 months ago. So, like I said, the squad may not necessarily be weak, but it is still very inconsistent. Our biggest problem, though, is complacency. We come up against opponents such as this and expect to, take it to them. But if it's when we disrespect the opposition, we find ourselves, up a gum tree, as we would say.
Taken too lightly, yeah, exactly. And you can't with Pakistan. I mean, actually, I'd rather be playing Pakistan than blooming Bangladesh right now, wouldn't you? I mean, congrats to Bangladesh, by the way. Beating the Aussies. Well done. Humiliated them, I believe, as well. So
9 wickets, that's right.
Well done, Bangladesh. And we're going to be playing them at some stage, Manny. Should we fear them after all that, I think?
Yeah, we should, definitely. I mean, we've had our share of bad performances against teams we normally should beat over the years, Steve. So there's no way we can take any team lightly. And, this Bangladesh team, they've now ensured that they cannot lose the series in Australia. So Australia have got to work hard to, save face. Otherwise, it's going to be a humiliating home loss to a team they had, ridiculed not too long ago. And I will say this, though. Stuart Broad, wind your neck in. Do not even think of trying to, put the boot into this Aussie team, calling it the worst since 2010 when we won the Ashes Down Under. Usman Khawaja, true to form, came back with a reply saying, it could be worse. We could be England right now.
Well, that's true.
Stones and glass houses, Broady. Don't you dare forget that.
You think Stuart Broad should have known better, really? But there we go. We all say things we regret. I think some of us in public, I think, that come out and say stupid things, don't they? So, and he was one of them, unfortunately. But there we go. But let's get into this, talk about this, and I've got obviously the article here. Joe Root returns to the England captaincy, and Headingley offers him a fittingly symbolic stage for his second act as England take on Pakistan. Ben Stokes has retired, well, we all know. He's not coming back. Come on, he's not going to come back, is he? Please, surely. No. Taking with him the balance he provided across bat and ball. While Root inherits a side still searching for identity after a bruising summer against New Zealand. Pakistan's Caribbean triumph ended a miserable run without an away win, and Babar Azam's troublesome hand has dominated the build-up. England versus Pakistan prediction. Who will win? England come into this series as deserved favourites, with conditions at Headingley only strengthening their case. Home advantage has counted for plenty here down the years, and England's fast bowling depth gives them several routes to unsettle Pakistan's top order. Jofra Archer has returned to something like his best, and his pace should trouble a batting lineup containing three left-handers who haven't always looked entirely comfortable against extreme speed. Root's experience carries weight too. He has faced this Pakistan attack many times before and has done well. Root averages 53.11 against the South Asian side, scoring 1,487 matches across 18. That don't sound right. Runs, that would be, across 18 matches. Shit work there from Yahoo Sports. You should be ashamed. Yeah, that's terrible. Exactly. Pakistan showed genuine fight in the Caribbean, and Mohammed Abbas could cause problems if the ball swings. But England's greater firepower should prove decisive, and a home win looks the likely outcome. England versus Pakistan pitch report first test, Headingley. Leeds total matches 85. Matches won batting first 29. Matches won bowling first 37. Average first innings score 300. Average second innings score 293. Average fourth innings score 169. Oh, sorry, no, I didn't do the third innings, 241, sorry. Highest total recorded 653 for 4. 193 overs, Australia versus England. Lowest total recorded 61 for 10. 26.2 overs, West Indies versus England. I seem to remember that one. Highest score chased 404 for 3. Australia versus England. And lowest score defended 75 all out, South Africa versus England. Head-to-head in tests, England versus Pakistan. Matches played, England 92, Pakistan 92. 1, England 30, Pakistan 23. Lost, England 23, Pakistan 30. Drawn, England 39, Pakistan 39. Tied, nil, both 0-0 there, 0. Home wins 24, England, Pakistan 6. Away wins, England 6, Pakistan 12. Neutral venue wins, England none, Pakistan 5. Here's our favourite betting angle for, so what's that, 1.87 via Daffer Bet. But that's in, please gamble responsibly, by the way, guys, if you're going to gamble. please bet responsibly. But anyway, Root has been the most important player in Test matches, and the England captain will be looking to extend that. As it says, betting there, but as I say, bet responsibly, guys, please. Here's how both sides are likely to line up in this game. England predicted line-up to play Pakistan. Ben Duckett, Emilio Gay, Jordan Cox, Joe Root, captain, Harry Brook, Dan Lawrence, Jamie Smith, wicket-keeper, Gus Atkinson, Jofra Archer, Ollie Robinson and Josh Tongue. Pakistan predicted line-up, Inzamam, not Inzamam, it's not Inzamam, it's Imam al-Haq. How could I get that one wrong?
I think he's Inzi's nephew, so it's almost
easy. Yeah, of course, yeah. But he's not as big and whatever as him. But anyway, we won't go into that. Shan Masood, Azan Awas, Abba Azam, Salman Ali Aga, Mohammed Rizwan, wicket-keeper, of course, Amir Jamal, Sajid Khan, Mohammed Abbas, Karam Shazad, and Mohammed Ali. Good boxer as well, by the way. But anyway.
Floated like a butterfly, stung like a bee. I wonder if this bloke will be the same.
He pack a punch, yeah. Anyway, but so the odds, England 1.36, Pakistan 3.20, and how to watch it and everything there, basically. But what do you make of all that, Manny?
Yeah, so interestingly, of course, you talk of the possible England lineup. There actually was a fixture played in the series earlier on. I think it was Pakistan against a PCC select team, which actually featured him. He was not exactly happy in Gay. He ended up getting a pair in that test, a 12-ball duck in the first innings and a 7-ball duck in the second. And it was Mohammed Abbas and Muhammad Ali who took his wickets, so definitely fell victim to a bit of a sucker punch there. So I'm not too sure that would have really given him any kind of confidence, because he is, of course, slated to open alongside Ben Duckett. I'm glad that that we haven't gone back to Zach Crawley. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm biased, but I'm going to say this right now. I'd rather have a return of someone like a Keaton Jennings than Zach Crawley. Heck, even someone like a Dom Sidley wouldn't be too bad, although I think his England days are long gone. But it's that particular lineup right now, if you take a look at it, where you see where Joe Root comes in and how important he's going to be. Because he doesn't have any real senior players in the team. And, of course, Ollie Pope was the ex-vice captain who had the vice captaincy, publicly and rather humiliatingly, I might add, taken away from him. And he's not even expected to play either. So Brook will probably be the... so Brook might probably be the second most experienced player in the team. Ollie Robinson, of course, has played a few tests as well. Duckett definitely has plenty of tests under his belt. But it's an exceptionally young England team. And so a lot's going to depend upon how the batsman will fire. And as I've mentioned, Emilio Gay getting a pair in that game can't have filled him with confidence. And now, of course, with Jacob Bethel injured, it will be Jordan Cox coming into the team. Also, as was mentioned in the in this article, with Stokes having retired, there's no real balance to the team. So the biggest issue when you lose someone like Stokesy is that if you want to pack your side with 7 specialist batsmen, one of them has to be a genuine all-rounder who can bowl. And if you want to have at least 4 specialist bowlers, one of them has to bat in the top 6. We don't seem to have either. Now, I did mention that, we do have a reasonably capable tail, though, with Atkinson already having a test century. Archer can definitely wield the long handle. But as far as Robinson and Tongue are concerned, I think, they are both a couple of rabbits, although not necessarily in the headlights, we could say. And there is talk about possibly getting Dan Lawrence to fill that role as a number 6 batsman who will also bowl a bit. I don't know if I can necessarily, go along with that, so to speak, because you take a look at someone like Joe Root, for instance. He's actually a much better option as a part-time spinner than Dan Lawrence would be. And Lawrence is, of course, I mean, he not too long ago turned 29 years old. So belated happy birthday to you, Danny boy.
Yeah.
And his test record, of course, when it comes to bowling, 3 wickets in 14 tests. He only has 64 first-class wickets with 11 List A wickets. Does have 70 T20 wickets, but he's already played 200-odd games in that format. And if you compare him to someone like our skipper supreme, Joe Root, Root has 74 wickets in tests. But he is, of course, a proper part-timer, and his best bowling in an innings is actually an excellent performance of 5 wickets for 8 runs. I think that was against India, if memory serves me right. So even if his first class and List A stats are much better than that of Lawrence's, and yet Root doesn't seem to want to trust himself to bowl very much, although I suppose it could be understandable because he's also now got the responsibility of captaining the team. To ask himself to try and bowl as well would not be the way to go. And interestingly, with Cox and Duckett, they're also, guys who can keep wicket in addition to Jamie Smith. So maybe, there is some depth, so to speak. But it's the balance of the team that kind of worries me. And now we're in a situation where we might have to, depend on Gus and Jofra possibly doing some work with the tail against Pakistan's bowlers. And it's ridiculous, really. And it also begs the question, why would you not even want to consider someone like a Rayan Ahmed, who could, do a really good job as a specialist spinner, but who can also really bat well? And mind you, I believe he's opening the batting for Leicestershire and County Cricket.
Yeah, and he's doing well there as well. What are they actually doing with him? If you were Rayan Ahmed, what would you be thinking right now? What are they doing? What are they playing at? They keep putting me in the squad. They leave me out. They put me again. They put me back in. They leave me out. How would you feel with that? I would be pissed off, wouldn't you?
Fit to be tied. Fit to be absolutely tied. And, never mind Rayan Ahmed. I mean, they've mucked about Shoaib Bashir long enough. Bashir also played in the tour game, and he also ended up not really troubling the scorers, although to his credit, he was not out in the second innings. And even when he bowled as well, he actually took 4 wickets in the first innings, and in the second ended up wicketless. But, there could have been a role for him. And I'm going to keep banging the drum of someone like a Tom Hartley because, it's about 35 years ago, not too long ago, that a certain Philip Clive Roderick Tufnell, Middlesex legend as well, mind you, bowled that beautiful spell in that final test to swing the match England's way against the West Indies. That was a wonderful spell, 6 for 25, I think, which sent them crumbling, and we ended up winning that test to square the series 2-2. He was a bit of I wouldn't exactly say that he was mad as a box of frogs, but he did have issues with his own temperament. He did, cheese off a lot of people. But on his day, he could win matches. Maybe people didn't really trust his record overseas, but he still could very easily have made the 98-99 national squad when we went down under. Instead, we took a couple of part-timers, and I don't remember if Ian Salisbury was a part of that tour, a rarely used leg spinner. Tuffers would have loved to have bowled on that SCG pitch. But since him and someone like, Mudson Singh Panesar, Monty, we just don't seem to have produced a real quality left-arm spinner. We tried Simon Kerrigan as a replacement for Monty. And, of course, Tommy Hartley. After that wonderful tour against India, he's now been discarded like yesterday's Vindaloo, if you will. It's horrible.
It is horrible. Man.
So
we got some good spinners there, Manny, and we just tossed them away. It's just not good, is it? Why do we do that? We got some very good spinners.
The thing is, as well, it is understandable that when you play on a pitch like Headingley, which, as we know, traditionally normally assists the seamers, although you do have to get your line and length spot on, you'd want to unpack it with seamers, and we've done that with Gus, Jofra, Ollie, and Josh. And
Yeah.
I think it is good to see Ollie back. I think maybe he's had issues, and now he's found a way back in. He could also do a decent job with the bat, but you can't depend on your number 10 batsman to dig you out of a hole. That's just irresponsible, really. But it's 4 frontline seamers, and you've got effectively a part-time spinner who you want to turn into an all-rounder, and the captain's actually a better part-time off spinner than you. So again, it's the thinking which I really don't get here. And
done it with Jacks, didn't they? In the one day thing, the white ball, they put Jacks in there as a spinner, didn't they? He's a part-time spinner really as well, isn't he? And not front line.
Oh yeah, I get that, and I think the thing about that approach as well, Steve, is that they can sometimes be successful, but other times they can just be carted all around the ground. And this idea of, I mean, there was a time, mind you, when Lawrence was actually asked to open the batting. Now he's being passed around from pillar to post in the batting order, and he's now being asked to double up as an all-rounder. I'm sorry, but again, it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Although, to be fair, Fleming hasn't started coaching yet. So I only hope that the specialists do their job and the batsmen also stand up to be counted. And with Bethel injured, Cox now comes in. So that means, Ollie Pope
he's had a lot
doesn't get
Cox as well, hasn't he? I mean, he was injured most of the time, wasn't he, when he should have been playing. He wanted to play. His next cab off the rank, and he must be bursting to play for England,
Yeah, so this is now an opportunity for him, and obviously Emilio Gay will have a bit of a point to prove, and he's now going to have to make sure that his own promising start against New Zealand isn't just simply a flash in the pan. So there's strength in some areas, but some glaring weaknesses in this team. And we're going to have to make sure that we play cohesively in order to avoid being embarrassed. Because I'll tell you what, if Bangladesh could embarrass Australia knowing that they had absolutely nothing to lose, we need to we underestimate this Pakistan team at our peril. We've got to give them respect. Not too much, but just don't insult them. And you and I both remember how in the 80s and 90s that great Pakistan team of yore with the players they had would embarrass us on our home turf. I think in 3 consecutive series when they came over to play against us, I think it was 1987 and then 92 and then 96 not too long afterwards. They beat us every single time. But then the players they had in that team, oh boy, legends. I don't think you can find a player of that caliber in this Pakistan team right now, and quite a few are actually missing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I've had some amazing players over the last few years in the past, but we all know Wasim Akram, Waka Yunis. The list goes on, doesn't it? Really, of how many great players they've had. Imran Khan, of course, and so forth. But they just had so many top players. But I mean, some of them they have still got some good ones. When they do something, it's they are an unpredictable team. Let's be honest, and you never know what you're going to get with them. And then if they could suddenly have a bowling spell where they get nearly every batsman out for next to nothing, or they suddenly somehow get some runs. But I don't think they're going to get a mega load of runs. Possibly the most they could get is probably 300. Would you say something like that or less? I don't think they're going to really bat. They can't get say 400, 500 or whatever. So it'd be a lowish total probably. But then they've got the bowlers who could possibly get England out for the low score, So I really don't know what to say with this one. I mean, I've got an article here, Manny, about Pakistan, so might as well read this and This is by Daniel Rasul.
Yeah, Daniel Russell, that's right.
Rasul, yeah. Pakistan's rare chance to do something special if they don't sabotage it.
That's a big if, as we all know.
Yeah, it is. England had the third worst win percentage this WTC cycle, but Pakistan arrive on the back of their own tumult. Tumult? Is that right? Yeah.
Tumult, yeah.
Tumult, yeah. England and Pakistan trained side by side under a gloomy Headingley sky that seemed to have dropped in exclusively for the upcoming test after months of record heat and barely any rainfall. There was a team that had just sacked its coach and gone back to a previous captain, one that had lost its most recent home series and 7 of its last 10 tests. With the third worst win percentage this World Test Championship cycle, ahead of only West Indies and Sri Lanka, and there was also Pakistan. There will always be a reason to lose a test, even if we can sometimes feel like Pakistan must be running short of explanations by now. They lost in Australia and South Africa because, well, it's Australia and South Africa. They lost to West Indies because 4 innings chases are tricky. Fourth innings. And West Indies' pace attack in Test cricket is better than it gets credit for. They lost to West Indies at home, meanwhile, because they lost the toss. They lost to Bangladesh home and away too. And last week they found their reason for it. After all, if you finish bottom of the WTC table, as Pakistan did in the previous cycle, or sit one above as they do in this one, any test can be lost. They arrive in England on the back of that tumult again. Sorry.
Yeah.
It has always been a prestige series for Pakistan, a place where success can catapult both reputation and confidence of the side. They are decided underdogs. Near the bottom of the rankings, there's hardly any test series where that's not true. England, despite the flux they are in, will expect to get past the Pakistan side that has lost 13 of the last 18 tests. And only this month ended an 8-match losing streak away from home, the longest in their history. One that has been struck by injuries to a number of batters, including one that might keep their reinstated captain, Babar Azam, out of the first test. Most of all, a group whose mental vulnerability in third and fourth innings with the bat remains as ripe for exploitation as ever. It can feel like Pakistan must be the team anyone wants to play at the moment. But England in their current state are not far behind. This is a series with a loaded deck because victory will mean very different things to these sides. An England win might be a gentle, encouraging sign for the new era, being soft launched this series ahead of Stephen Fleming's official coaching appointment later this year. One that will be gently toasted and quickly moved on from. A Pakistan win, though, would see this visiting group do something almost unique in the modern era. They're all 3 Test series wins in this country have come between 1987 and 1996. A time when they spat out a conveyor belt of some of the greatest Test cricketers. Since 2017, by contrast, Pakistan have, Zimbabwe excluded, failed to win a single Test series outside of Asia. Since their win in England in 1996, they have won just 3. To make that 4, all they need to do is beat a side currently without a full-time coach and a clear identity. One that sits above them in the WTC rank standings only, because they drew one of their tests. There could not be a clearer opportunity to write their name into history, or a more achievable path to do it. In Mohammed Abbas, Pakistan have the sort of bowler you conjure out of a petri dish, if controlling for conditions in England. On an overcast day in Headingley, with rain lashing down in the afternoon, washing away all signs of the drought and heat wave as the temperature dipped into the low teens. Abbas appeared especially bubbly at the press conference. These are the conditions, for the most part, in which Abbas has taken over 300 wickets in county cricket. He will take the new ball against an England batting lineup minus Jacob Bethel and features new opener Amino Gay and experimental number 3 John Cox. Should the dry weather further south hold up, Lords and Edgbaston will host the remaining 2 tests. It could conceivably bring spinners into the game, more than is usually the case. Pakistan have brought 2 along for the tour. While England are likely to rely on Dan Lawrence's part-time slow bowling as their primary source of spin, it was those conditions in which Pakistan coasted to victory in their warm-up game against a select 11, albeit one featuring a modest bowling attack. Saud Shakil, a master of negotiating flat, dry pitches, but someone who struggles against the rising or moving ball, scored an unbeaten 100 and was seen to emphasise how at home Pakistan felt. Of course, in Pakistan's current state, these could all end up being obscure sides on a tour where just enough goes wrong for things to fall apart. Given Pakistan's fragility, it won't take much. And England do still have a step up in the batting quality that Pakistan cannot realistically match. Joe Root exists on a level of his own, and Harry Brook averages over 84 against Pakistan. Pakistan's capacity to absorb pressure or consolidate winning positions is almost non-existent at this point, and there are few members of this unit who know how to win test matches under pressure. There are, as there always will be, many reasons why they might go on to lose the 3 test matches that follow. But as far as opportunities for history-making go, Pakistan could do well to recognise that one stares them in the face over the next few weeks. It is unlikely to come around again anytime soon. So, Manny, do you think they are capable of that?
It's Pakistan. The title says it all. If they don't sabotage this chance, if they don't muck it up, they could do something really good. But again, there is some talk about possibly Babar Azam missing the test. And if he does miss the test, it's unclear who might even captain the side. And, there was so much flux in their team as well that we all thought that Azam would never captain Pakistan again. And now he's been brought back into the role. So it's like, in a way, it's almost fitting that in addition to Ruti beginning his second innings as captain on his home turf, we come up against a Pakistan team that is not really firing on all cylinders. Yes, they did really well in the tour game, but there's also a link to an article where it talks about how Pakistan let an infamous Old Trafford test slip in 2020. And of course, Azam played in that test, as did Rizwan and 1 or 2 others. And certain Joe Root was England captain as well for that particular test. But then that team, of course, we had then, Ollie Pope, Joss Butler, Chris Wokes, Stuart Broad, Jimmy Anderson. There, of course, I know Pope's in the squad, but I don't think he'll be picked for the test, and the rest of them are no longer in the picture. And then, of course, Rory Burns, Dom Sibley opening the batting, and then Dom Bess. I mean, it's like a where are they now sort of moment. And Harry Brook didn't even come into the picture then. And obviously the result of this was that, England ended up leading the 3-match series 1-0. I don't quite remember what happened for the rest of the series. I think it's fair to say that, we do have a link, of course, to what happened in that Pakistan tour of England. And, the test series, of course, that was actually the only test that England won, the only test that England needed to win, because the other tests were drawn. I believe they drew at Southampton. There were 2 tests that were played at Southampton, and both of them were drawn. And this test win was in Manchester. So Pakistan had an opportunity and they just couldn't seize it in the end. And eventually it was, down to some gritty play from England that saw us through by 3 wickets. Taking a look at that 4th innings, it was Chris Wokes, of course, with a wonderful 84 not out, who took us home. If it weren't for him, we might have been sunk. And then Joss Butler as well, with a fine innings of 75. In fact, both of them, when they were together, at that point we were 117 for 5 and staring down the barrel of a horrible defeat. But when those two came together, they took the match away from Pakistan. And even when Joss Butler got dismissed with the score on 256, we were almost home and dry. And even when Stuart Broad ended up, getting out, Wokesley was still there at the end. So Pakistan had their chance, but they completely let it slip. And this current team right now might be a bit of a shadow of that team, especially if we take a look at the bowlers they had. Yasir Shah, Shahid Afridi. Mohammad Abbas is still there, so he can obviously have a role to play. Someone like Shadab Khan. So they're going to want to draw memories of that, what might have been at Old Trafford, and try and make sure that what happened then should not be allowed to happen. But never underestimate a team that has nothing to lose. Bangladesh went to Australia with nothing to lose. They played that test in the Northern Territory, Darwin, and they ended up completely, humiliating them. And there was also a post on Instagram which said that for all of our talk of how we were going to be, to giving it to the Aussies and making sure that we would be aggressive, Bangladesh did what we failed to do. And that makes it all the more humiliating from an England point of view. But it's also a reminder that no test opposition can be taken for granted, especially given how, poorly we've done so far in this WTC cycle.
Yeah, but you would think, looking at all that, what's been said there, Pakistan really don't stand a chance, do they? Unless they can somehow produce a special performance, a rabbit out of a hat. England are really big favourites for this, aren't they? Really, and it's quite a good one for Trescothick to start with, because, as I say, will this be his only series he manage? Will it? If he coach, is it this or one other?
Yes, I think it will. I think it will be this series, because look, we're in the middle of August right now. I don't think we play any home.
There's no test after this. No.
Yeah, no home tests. So, obviously, if we do have a series between now and the South Africa tour, then that's going to be, an interesting development. But in any case, as well, a little bit of history. Tresco actually played his final test for England against Pakistan at home, and that was also a series where, once again, his demons got the better of him, and it contributed to his premature international retirement. So I think he's definitely going to want to make sure that he sets the record straight in this part and plays his part in an England team that, dominates Pakistan in every single way possible. And if he can do that, then, that'll sort of be, it'll make him feel a little bit redeemed, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's also going to, that's also going to be good in a way, because he has his own personal heartbreak. And that is something that is going to have to be used to remind England that nothing can be taken for granted. Things can, change for the worse in the blink of an eye. You just never know. So while I'm angry, I can't say I'm angry, but I'm a little bit cheesed off with the methodology behind our possible selection for the first test. I only hope that, we end up playing sensibly enough to make sure that we make this a match in this series, a formality as hoped for, if not expected. But especially, you might want to think that there'll be a new coach, new captain bounce. It didn't quite work when, we sacked Stewie and said goodbye to David Lloyd, because, as you know, of course, Fleming led his New Zealand team to a fine 2-1 victory over our England, who were captained by Nasser Hussain and managed by Duncan Fletcher for the first time. So it wasn't an auspicious beginning, but we did go on to enjoy a really good period where we won 4 consecutive series. And, I mean, beating Pakistan in Pakistan was wonderful. And it was Hussain and Graham Thorpe, of course, who sealed victory when it got dark. And, you know, that's also another wonderful memory. But again, back then we had players who knew how to put a price on their wicket. So these guys now are going to have to start taking a lot more responsibility, regardless of who the coach is. And knowing Fleming as well as I do, I think he's not going to be one to suffer fools gladly. If you aren't, you know, justifying your place in the team and playing responsibly, you know, you're going to be given a stern talking to, and you could very well end up finding yourself on the periphery.
Yeah. Because as you say, they brought Ollie Pope back, and I think we all thought he was then for him, wasn't it? Didn't we think that as well? That he was finished maybe for England, or did we think he was, as you say, he might not play in any of the matches though. So is he there mainly just as an emergency, just as backup, or really?
It could very well be that, you know, he's there to just provide some depth. But the very fact that Jordan Cox was picked ahead of him will tell the story. I think Pope sort of tried to find his rhythm again in county cricket and has scored quite a few. Made some decent scores, but he hasn't exactly, you know, set the county scene alight like Dan Lawrence and even someone like a Jordan Cox has done. So, you know, he's going to have to work even harder to try to resume his own international career. And it could very well be that his own captaincy dream is now over, with Brooke now firmly ensconced as vice captain. But he's got a challenge on his hands. It just worries me now that we're trying to solve the problem of balance by going about it all wrong. Because, you know, you want to have someone who's, you know, done a much better job of being a part-time bowler than Dan Lawrence has. And his stats, I'm sorry to say, don't fill me with any kind of confidence. I'd sooner feel confident bringing in someone like Rayan Ahmed, who has improved his batting by leaps and bounds. The only problem is, though, that because they want to play 4 frontline seamers, they feel that, you know, having part-time spin would be enough. And especially, of course, you know, Pakistan do enjoy playing against spin. Having some frontline spinners may not necessarily be the best option. But we did take Shoaib and Rayan to Pakistan, and they didn't do too badly. So I'd like to think that, as mentioned, Lords and Edgbaston will provide some helpful spinners. So it should be that we might end up seeing a spinner come into contention here. And that's where we've got to start thinking outside the box, because we do have some very good spin bowling talent who are not being given the opportunities or the chances that they deserve.
So, as with Pope there for maybe with the batting and stuff as backup, would you say Sam Cook is a backup there, as well as maybe Brian Carsey's back? Surely he will play, wouldn't he, at some stage? Matthew Fisher, I don't know, he may be back up as well. You would say it's mainly Archer will be playing Atkinson and Tongue, really, wouldn't it? And Robinson, of course, as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like in terms of the bowlers we picked for the squad, the only specialist spinner we picked is, of course, Bash, and he did play in the tour game and did quite well in the first innings, as I've mentioned. Apart from that, you know, it's Archer and Atkinson who are both fast and fast medium. Fisher's also more of a fast medium, as is Tongue, and then of course Cookie and Robinson are both medium fastish. So there's only one specialist spinner, and it's not even Rayan Ahmed or someone like a Tom Hartley. It's someone like a Shoaib Bashir, who has had his moments and who has done well, but he's a little bit like Panesar. He's impressed and frustrated in equal measure, you could say, as Bash. And you would think as well that instead of packing your squad with off spinners, you'd want to have a different type of spinner, someone either a left arm spinner or a leg spinner who could, add some variety to the attack. Instead, we've got to put up with Dan Lawrence and Joe Root possibly bowling some part-time off spin, which doesn't sit very well with me. And I've got Bashir's stats here. Obviously, 71 wickets from 71 wickets, I should say, from 21 tests, 4 or 5 wicket falls. So it's not like he's done very badly. He has had some really good performances, and of course, a match performance of 9 for 143 is not too bad at all by any means. But it's like you've got to define the type of role you want your spinners to play. Otherwise, spin bowlers like Ahmed and Tom Hartley are going to lose any kind of enthusiasm in wanting to try to make themselves available for England selection. And in addition to Dan Lawrence, we do, of course, have Ben Duckett, who is also a part-time off-spinner. I'd be damned if we ask him to bowl. There is, of course, Bryden Cass, who is listed in the squad as a genuine all-rounder, but his batting record is worse than that of Gus Atkinson's, for example. He's only got one Test 50. Does have a couple of first-class centuries, but again, if you were to try to put him in, who would you take out to bring him in? And I do like the fact that we have a very varied seam attack. Someone like Archer, for instance, can be very, very sharp when he's on his day. But if he's going to be bowling to the left-handers, he's got to be able to get the away swinger working well and then try and, swing it back in. Especially if he's bowling over the wicket, he's got to, make sure he doesn't stray in line. Otherwise, he's going to be picked for runs. Atkinson, also is more of he's no Gus Fraser, but he's definitely someone who can provide a lot of strength. So we do have a very varied bowling lineup, a fast bowling lineup, but it's the spin that worries me, and also the inevitable balance. And the only listed all-rounder in the squad is not even being picked. So it's going to be enough. It should be enough to defeat the Pakistan team. But going forward, I'm not going to pretend that this squad will, if picked, will go to South Africa and uproot any trees. And bear in mind that South Africa team are World Test champions.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I'm sure Hano's very happy with all that. And he'd love us to go there and love the South Africans to smash us, I'm sure. But well, it could happen, couldn't it? Because they are, the best team around at the moment. So, yeah, it could happen. But who knows what our team will be by then? Obviously, Fleming will be in charge of it then, I guess, wouldn't he? So, we'll see there'll be a lot of changes probably, I would say, by the time we face South Africa. There'll probably be a lot of newer players in, or maybe they might go back to some older ones, or what, we don't know. I would hope there'd be some new players, because I just feel we have got a lot of talent out there, in the county scene. And I'd like to see some new ones given a chance. So, but I don't know what Fleming... Well, I'm sure the thing is Fleming would know, surely, what there is around it. I know obviously it's mainly one day things, but he must know about test players as well. So he must know who's good enough to bring in, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another reason why I would like to see Fleming do a lot more work in the county circuit. And I think one reason why he was brought in as coach is because big up Daz, by the way. I think to answer your question, Daz, first of all, it'll definitely be Jofra and Gus who will open the bowling, with Tongue and Ollie to come in as first and second change, either or. So that should answer your question there, mate. Thank you for the question. And, Flem's actually done really well in county cricket as well. Let's not forget that he was Nottinghamshire's overseas player and actually led them to the county championship title after replacing the rather controversial Jason Gallion. You only need to read Kevin Peterson's first autobiography to know all you need to know about him. And I do remember Gallion having played a little bit for England, and of course he was on the books at Lancashire. Well. He was on the books at Lancashire before moving to different counties. But Fleming replaced Gallion and, helped give Nottinghamshire one of their finest moments as well. So Fleming does know his way around the county scene, albeit that was about 20 or so years ago. So he's going now. Once he gets back into the groove, he's really going to have to make sure he does his homework on some really good players in the county scene or elsewhere who can, who he believes will improve the team in every single way. And let's also not forget that when he was captain, he had a certain Christopher Lance Cairns, who on his day was literally the best all-rounder in the world. And he was, a big factor in New Zealand, really doing very well.
Yeah, he was.
A few years older than Flem, and probably not considered for captaincy, but definitely in his own way, a big leader in the team. And it was Cairns' own, intervention after the first test, which they lost. And of course, you remember that first test, Alex Tudor very nearly scoring a century on debut.
Yeah, 99.
99 not out. But sadly, due to injuries, that was as good as it got for him. And instead of, being down.
Had a father that played as well, was it Lance Cairns?
Yeah, exactly, Lance, yes. Bernard Lance Cairns. So Chris actually, after the first test, said something that, lit up the mood not long after they lost, because the second test was going to be played at Lord's. And it was he who said, there are 2 honours boards at the Lord's cricket ground. And I can guarantee you by the end of that test, I will be up on that honours board. I can't say whether it's for my bowling or my batting, but I promise you I will be there. And that was the spark that, probably brought them to life. And I believe he did take a 5-4 in that game. It might have been in the first innings, I think. And then Matthew Horn got a century for New Zealand. And, New Zealand ended up winning that test very comfortably indeed. Graham Thorpe, I think, subbed in as captain when Hussain got injured. And then, after we lost that test, the very left field option of Mark Butcher, I should say, was made to lead the team in the third test. It was just that entire series started so wonderfully, but it just devolved into an absolute shambles by the end. And it really, was a stark reminder of the task at hand for Hussain and Fletcher to rebuild that team. And when the Barmy Army starts singing, we're the worst team in the world, that's when we've hit rock bottom. But Chris Cairns was really, a larger-than-life figure in that New Zealand team, and as genuine an all-rounder as you could want. Not necessarily a world-beating bowler. He was inferior to some of the greats then. But when it came to batting, he was certainly much better than the likes of Sean Pollock and a few others who could also bat reasonably well. They were more bowling all-rounders. This guy also, mind you, actually played in a test series against Australia in Australia, which I believe, if memory serves me right, was drawn 0-0. But that first test, he very nearly took New Zealand to an unlikely victory. After Steve Waugh's early declaration left them a target, Cairns was smacking it all over the ground, and he very nearly brought New Zealand home. So he had that larger-than-life figure in his team as an all-rounder. Ben Stokes was, in some respects, that for us, but now he's gone. So the first question that Fleming will have to ask is, where will be my new Chris Cairns? And I can tell you right now, mate, he is not going to be Dan Lawrence.
No, I agree, but we don't know. We don't know where the next one's coming from, I suppose. But a lot of people keep saying Sam Curran.
No,
I don't know, Manny, about that. No.
Yeah, see, listen, I at least have a more positive opinion of Curran, more positive than you do. But I can tell you that in limited overs cricket, he can take wickets, but he also bowls a lot of dross at times. And can he keep his line in Test cricket? I'm not too sure about that. And you know you've hit the bottom of the barrel when you want Sam Curran to be your Test all round. I'm sorry.
And the Overtons as well, they'll be mentioned. Craig Overton and all that. And his brother.
That's going below the bottom of the barrel, if you ask me.
So where is the next one coming from, Manny? Who is the new all-rounder? I don't know.
I don't think it's going to be a seam bowling all-rounder. I mean, look, Gus Atkinson does have a Test century, but unless he starts to, really improve his batting by leaps and bounds and work very hard on it, we're not going to expect him to turn into an all-rounder. Jofra Archer can definitely wield the long handle. He doesn't have very bad technique, but you can't ask him to stick around and bat for, a very long period of time.
Done in Australia, though. Done it well there. He done well in Australia, didn't he, Archer, at one stage?
Yeah. I think if memory serves me right, I think
you got 50.
You got a Test half century in one of those tests. Yeah. You're right. So, but like I said again, you cannot have a situation where you're depending upon your number 8 and number 9 batsmen to dig you out of a hole. And certainly someone like Jamie Smith as well. We know that he's capable of some amazing innings, but he can also be very reckless with the bat at times. So, we're going to have to really scrutinise some of the batsmen in the team. And Brook and Smith will probably be near the top of the list. They're going to have to prove that they want to be mainstays in the Test team and start playing with a lot more responsibility from here on in. And if they can do enough to, impress Stephen Fleming, then, hallelujah. Brook especially, will have a lot of work to do in that regard. And Fleming, as I've said, will not suffer fools gladly.
No, definitely not. I think he was also brought in, though, to be to help with McCullum, because they know each other, don't they? They play for New Zealand, they're mates, they're whatever. Do you think that was another reason for bringing him in?
It could very well be. Let's not forget that, McCullum is now, of course, the limited overs coach, but he was, of course, the Test coach. And I'm just glad that, we've got an antithesis to McCullum in charge of the Test team. But it could very well be that they will, bounce ideas off each other. And they will obviously compare some notes about good players on the county scene, and also maybe try and see if there are any more players who can, also do a job in the Test arena, who are also doing pretty good in the limited over scheme of things. Of course, that's going to be a little bit hard to find because some players are limited over specialists for a reason. Sam Curran, of course. I think if we take a look at Sam Curran's own Test record, it doesn't. He has had some decent performances, but again, consistency is always going to be a bit of a big problem with him, especially at Test level. One of the sons, of course, of the legendary Kevin Curran, Zimbabwe legend, may he rest in peace. And of course, both his brothers are also internationals. Ben, now with Zimbabwe, while Tom also played for England.
Yeah, he played for England. Yeah.
Now, Sam Curran's record is 24 tests played. He has a high score of 78 with the bat, 3 Test half centuries. At first class level, he does have 2 centuries, a best of 126. In ODIs, of course, he does have a high score of 95 not out. Had he scored a century, that would have given him a great deal of confidence. And then, in tests, it's 47 from 24, so it's not exactly very impressive reading. Not even 2 wickets a test. His best bowling in an innings is just a 4 for 58, so no 5-wicket hauls there. He has had more success in the limited over scheme of things with an ODI 5-wicket haul and, of course, a T20 5-wicket haul. That brilliant performance in Australia in the T20 World Cup, which we won, by the way. I don't know if we played against Australia. That might have been against another team. It might have been Afghanistan, I think. But he's more of a limited over specialist. And when he bowls in the limited overs game, he can either be very sharp or he can be completely wayward. You know how we used to tease Mitchell Johnson, right?
Oh,
he bowls to the left, he bowls to the right. He's Mitchell Johnson. His bowling is?
Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can also say the same about Sam Curran one of these days. So we're going to have to work exceptionally hard to make sure that we produce a decent all-rounder. But I can tell you right now, I don't think we're going to have another really good seam bowling all-rounder for a long time. It could very well be that someone like a Brown Ahmed could be our new all-round hope. But then that just goes to show how important a really good all-rounder is to the balance of a team. And that's something that's going to play heavily on Fleming's mind. He's going to be watching the series and looking at the Dan Lawrence experience. And if it doesn't provide the dividends, he said, that's enough of that. We're not going to go down that route ever again.
Yeah, we'll see. But so do you think, I mean, that was a probable team. Do you think that will be the team, though? Can you see that being the team for the first one?
Barring any kind of, bizarre incidents, I think that will be the England team that lines up. And of course, as we know, we're still waiting on Babar Azam's fitness. We'll have to see if his finger injury is healed in time. If it's a fracture, then I don't think he's going to play. And it could very well be that he might decide to have to withdraw from the tour and have surgery on that. But I don't think it's going to be as serious as a fracture because he is still involved with the squad. But again, we'll have to see if the injury is sort of, softened up for him a little bit so that he can have some involvement. And we'll have to see how it goes. On paper, I think we've got just a little bit more in terms of balance than Pakistan do, although they do have a couple of really good spinners who could cause us some problems. Headingley doesn't really entertain spin very much, though. I think it's still, for the most part, a fast bowler's paradise, but batsmen can make hay if the bowlers bowl, completely wayward stuff. And then I don't quite know if there's going to be any rough in the later innings for the spinners to exploit, but we will see. So it could very well be that we might look to win the toss and bowl first. But if we bowl absolute rubbish, then we're done. We're almost done.
Yeah, because I think generally we like to chase, don't we? That's what it seems to be with England. We like to chase a total, but you've got to try and make a total at some stage. You can't just keep thinking you'll win the toss and chase every time. It's just not going to happen, is it? So, but yeah, I think whatever score I think would be enough to beat Pakistan. I mean, say if we got something like 450 or more, I think that's enough to beat them, surely, would you say?
Yeah, it should be definitely enough. And I just want to see the team playing responsible cricket. The batsmen need to value their wickets. The bowlers need to get their line and length spot on and not give them any freebies. And as far as our spinner or /spinners are concerned, I don't want to see any, rubbish from Dan Lawrence. With off spinners, as you know, Steve, it's important to make sure that you keep a tight line, but also know when to be aggressive and when not to be. And ironically, our designated spin bowling all-rounder has an absolutely appalling bowling record. I'd sooner feel more confident in Joe Root taking the wicket for us. But given that he's captain,
bad a bowler, Joe Root, he's not bad.
Mate, he is a very underrated, spinner, and he has provided some breakthroughs. But as I've said, given that he's going to be captaining the team and also batting, I think that sort of ruled him out in a way of doing much with the ball, unless it's a break the glass option in that regard.
Just concentrate on the batting and making the decisions. Obviously, that's quite important. So being captain, but. Talking of that, do you think he's going to be better this time around, Manny? Because he had a bad record before, didn't he? When he finished.
Yeah,
England
well,
captain last
well,
time.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I actually did send you a link to a BBC
Oh,
Sport
yeah.
article.
Hold on.
Yeah. So this
I'll bring
article
it up then.
is, yeah, exactly. It's Mark Higginson who's written
There
about
we
it.
go.
What England can expect from Joe Root, the captain, and I think I've sent you the link in the private chat, so you can
Yeah,
easily
I'm just
open
going to
it
bring
there.
it up now, Manny. Yeah.
Beautiful, wonderful.
It's coming up very soon. Here we go. There we go. What
Yep,
England
that's
can
the one.
expect from Captain Root. Yeah.
Yep, that's the one. So Higginson writes, when England line up against Pakistan at Headingley, they will be once again led by Joe Root. He'll be captaining for the 66th time in Test cricket, which is a national record, although still way short of the 109 matches in which Graham Smith led South Africa. But, you know, he's an anomaly. He was given the job at 22, led for as long as he did. He wasn't a popular choice at first, and I thought he was a bit of a gobby git, but he certainly proved his worth in that role. Now, England's greatest batsman, yes, England's greatest batsman, sorry, Sir Alistair Cook, has taken over from Ben Stokes, who resigned, as we know, following the series against New Zealand earlier in the summer. But what can we glean from Rooty's previous spell in charge, and what can we expect from his second permanent spell in English cricket's most prestigious position? What we do know is he has won more Test matches as captain than anyone else in England's history, and some, of course, will point to his longevity. If we look solely at win percentages, one of those who've captained England in more than 30 tests, Root is sixth on the list because he has the same number of wins to his name as losses. And he falls behind the likes of Mike Brearley, Ben Stokes, Michael Vaughan, Peter May, and Andrew Strauss. And of course, Straussy, Vaughan, and Brearley have won Ashes series for us before. I'm pretty sure Peter May didn't do a bad job as captain either. Stokesy, for all of his greatness, I don't think he ever led us to an Ashes win. However, if you were to take away the anomaly of his one win in his final 17 tests, he actually had a pretty decent record in his first 47 tests, with a better record than Stokes. States, Australia, and India. You know, he plummets down the list even further, down in 10th, which is he has twice as many losses as wins. But then the number of England captains who have had success against Australia, of course, is, I mean, you can count that on the fingers of one hand, you've got to say. In 29% of his tests in charge, Root has captained England to victory against Australia and India, but that sits behind the likes of Stokes with 35%, Alistair Cook with 38%, and best of all, Mike Brearley with 57%. Although sadly, the days of having specialist captains are long gone. He, of course, has the best captaincy record of anyone against Australia and India, just ahead of the West Indies' Clive Lloyd, who won 22 of his 42 matches in charge. So that was at slightly above 50% there. Now, this question, of course, will ask what a Root team will look like with the bat. And after a rollercoaster 4 years, rollercoaster doesn't even begin to describe it. It's feasting and famine all in one, as I said. So the big thing that we've been talking about here, Steve, and what I believe will happen is that we could revert to a more conservative style of play under Root. Maybe not necessarily conservative, but at least a style of play where I hope we put a price on our wickets, for Pete's sake. Interestingly, of all England's Test captains since 2006, not long after our Ashes win under Vaughan, only teams led by Freddie Flintoff and KP had lower run rates and played fewer attacking shots. And that's a bit of a surprise given how big these guys were in terms of attacking batsmen themselves. In Rooty's 65 tests in charge, including the second test against New Zealand where he stood in for Stokesy, England's run rate has been 3.16, with the team playing an attacking shot 23% of the time. Under Stokes, that jumped up to 4.4, and they played an attacking shot 42% of the time. But does that mean that Root's teams are likely to score bigger since their risk is lower? Sadly, it's quite the opposite. And that's probably because, again, people don't seem to put a price on their wicket. The average number of runs scored for the loss of one wicket is 29 under Root, and when Stokes was in charge, it was 34. Under Strauss, when England briefly rose to number one in the world rankings, and we also won 3 Ashes series in a row under him, we averaged 40 runs a wicket. But of course, the players we had then, I mean, that team was just amazing. England lose a wicket on average, though, every 54.9 balls under Root. And to be fair, it is better than the 46.3 balls it would take to dislodge somebody under Stokes, but far behind the 69.5 balls that Strauss's side would soak up. And you see, under Stokes, we'd play our shots, but we'd get out more frequently. So, again, that's an example of how we don't put a price on our wicket. Of course, you know, you had someone like an aforementioned Dom Sibley, who played 21 tests under Joey and had a strike rate of under 35. Another quirk of the numbers is that Root actually had the best strike rate of all batsmen during his time in charge. It was even higher than under Stokes, showing how England's greatest batsmen can go up and down the gears. And maybe the lessons of the last 4 years could influence Root's captaincy second time around. And this is where we get into the meat of it. In his first interview after being named captain, he said, "The last 4 years have been the most fun I've had in professional cricket. And a big part of that was down to the way Baz and Stokesy got me to see the game. I've taken a lot from that, and it could very well be a big part of how I want to approach things moving forward as a leader of this team." The thing which stands out the most for me is the shift in mindset that was created around how he wants to play the game, trying to take away the fear from things, making sure guys would feel that they can just allow their talent to come out as frequently as possible and in big moments in games. And Root should not have to worry about a focus on the one-day team and leading a team during a global pandemic this time around. And there was that which more or less affected his last 17 tests because, you know, the pressure of that, the responsibilities he had, the situation he had, it would drain even the best of us, whether it be Brearley or Stokesy or someone like a Michael Vaughan, for instance. Even the best of our England captains would have been drained under those circumstances. And of course, I should also mention that he made it clear that there wouldn't be a curfew imposed after a test match, saying that, you know, he would trust the players to behave like adults. And I wonder if that's in some way a backhanded swipe at Ben Stokes, because look, as a captain, when you play a part in setting the policy and the protocol, you've got to adhere to that. And it was a horrible look for him. And so it was a horrible look for him. I mean, a saint. I mean, he would enjoy a pint every now and then. And there was an incident between him and David Warner when England and Australia played the Champions Trophy not too long ago. But that was a long time in the past, and he's since then matured. And that sort of underlines the fact that he's really the only adult in the room. So he wants his players now to start behaving like adults. But I'd like to think now that with all those tests behind him, the runs behind him, he's got so much more in terms of seniority. He's secure in his game. And so I think he could very well command a great deal more respect and loyalty. I wouldn't necessarily say that he could have a Lionel Messi type effect on this England team. And I will say right now that we are not a bunch of thugs. But again, when you talk of performance and how captains need to be those types of players who can inspire by example, I think Ben Stokes did that for quite a bit. But Rooty can certainly do that. And without the... I think he's now in a position of great authority. So he can, once again, stamp his mark on the team. But now, of course, we have to talk about how he might captain in the field, and it's here that he may be underrated. In his time in charge, only Ollie Pope-led teams had a better dismissal rate than Rooty's teams, who averaged a wicket every 50 balls. Root is also a part-time spin bowler, and sadly, he won't be able to call on the likes of Anderson, Wokes, or even Stokes this time around. His deployment of pace and spin could be interesting. Once again, it's only KP and Freddie who've used pace bowlers more in home tests since 2005, with his reliance on spin bowling at home dropping quite noticeably in his final 2 years in charge. And you can see even now, the predicted lineup for the first test has 4 specialist bowlers and, 2 part-time spinners, including himself. And in fact, his reliance on spin bowling at home has dropped down from 24% of balls bowled by spin in home tests in 2017 to 14% in 2021. So as he grew into the job, he didn't use his spin bowlers very much. In terms of fielding performance by the team, it's hard to really quantify other than by the percentage of drop catches. Stokes' teams did famously hunt down even lost causes to the boundary, but Stokes' teams also have the best catch success occasions where we drop a few and they'd cost us a few games. Under Cook, it was 78%. Root, it was 76%, which is not too bad. And it was 74% under Ollie Pope. And as far as captaincy affecting Root's batting, I don't think that'll happen. He averages 47 while being a captain, so that's not going to be a problem. And of course, one of his more memorable innings was in his 100th Test, where he made history in his 100th Test. That was against India at the Chidambaram Stadium here in Chennai, where I live. However, his average of 47 is slightly down on his average of 53 when not in charge, but it has increased in recent years as Root revelled in Stokes' leadership. Since he averages 54 since stepping down the first time. Even in his penultimate test in charge, when it was becoming clear the job was taking its toll on Root the person, he still scored a fine 153 against the West Indies in Bridgetown in Barbados. He is, of course, occupied with the small matter of hunting down Sachin Tendulkar's test record of 15,921 runs. If he overtakes this and continues to bat, he will become the first to score 16,000 runs, and that could be a fine landmark in itself, a wonderful time to retire. And as we know, he's barely 2,000 runs shy of achieving that landmark. With 3 matches against Pakistan to come this summer, and now we know that there aren't going to be any more home tests. It'll be winter tours to South Africa and then Bangladesh. Could Root put himself into a position to reach the record during next summer's Ashes? Becoming Test cricket's run-scoring GOAT and potentially lifting the urn on home soil, it wouldn't get much better for this shy Sheffield lad. Now, you see, there is a lot of promise attached to Joe Root captaining for the second time. He's now got to be a little bit more sure of himself. He's got to say, look, I've got this job, for the most part on merit. Maybe not necessarily on merit, but I deserve to be in this position. I have the authority. It would have been a travesty of justice under the circumstances if I didn't get the job. And I believe that I'm team forward in a period of transition. And it could very well be that he may captain the team until the home Ashes series and then step down if and when Brooke is ready. But then that's also going to segue into what I was saying earlier on about how the likes of Harry Brooke and Jamie Smith are going to be on trial during this transition period. If Harry Brooke doesn't show that he is more than capable of, applying himself a lot more in Test cricket, scoring well, but also playing responsibly, then it could very well be that Rooty might even have to captain the team until he retires. So Brooke has a big role to play now as the ensconced vice captain. And he now has to do his bit to make sure that he helps his fellow Yorkie in every way possible. Otherwise, we could be in for a world of trouble. But Rooty is my favourite player in this England team. He's still scoring wonderfully in the ODI team, under Brooke's captaincy, of course. So he has that ability to make sure that he focuses well on his batting and ends up leading by example. And I'd like to think that now that he's got a lot more authority with no real senior men in the team, no Cook, no Stokes, no Anderson or Broad or others, he has the opportunity now to stamp his mark firmly and lead it his own way. He's got 27 wins. Who's to say he can't increase that to 30 or 35 or 37? I can only hope. But I'm quietly confident that he will definitely do himself justice. And I'm looking forward to see how that pans out.
Yeah, I agree. I always think he would be a good captain. I know it's a bad record, but that was the time, and that's when we had all the COVID and shit like that. And that's what, it was hard for him then. And now it's different. He's got older. He's matured, obviously. I think he was always an old head on young shoulders, Always seemed that way. He's so mature. But I think he's grown into it again now, and I think he will have his best spell probably when he retires. I don't know when that'll be. Probably 39, maybe 40. Who knows? He could go on for 5 years or whatever. We don't know. If he keeps himself fit, and like he always does, seems to, he can go on a very long time. But I just feel. I think they do want Harry Brook as the next captain. That's what it seems to me to be. He's certainly not ready for it yet, though. We know that. But I think Joe Root will be an amazing captain now, and he's got his second chance, and he deserves it. So, all the best of luck to the guy. You know, I mean, he's a great player and a great guy, and one of our best players, legend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did actually just find out that wonderful match where Cairns very nearly pinched it for New Zealand against Australia. I will send you the link in the private chat. You can just take a look at that and see how influential he was. Australia declared their third innings on 84 for 2. So they set New Zealand a target of around about 280 odd, I think, and they just finished 10 runs short with Cairns.
Oh, sorry, 287.
I mean, Cairns was smacking it everywhere. Ended up getting bowled by. He ended up losing his wicket to Brett Lee, but that was the first test. That was the first test, of course, which they played at the Brisbane cricket ground, the Wollongabba, of course. Yeah, and the target, in fact, was 284, and New Zealand were just 10 runs short. So that really gives you an idea, Steve, of how, influential and how powerful and all-rounder he was. And that was a terrific test. I mean, they had it had 2 centuries at the top of the order from Langer and Hayden. Adam Gilchrist, of course, coming to the party with 118. Brett Lee contributing with 61, and they had a very big total. A huge failure in the middle order for the likes of Ponting, the Ward brothers, and Damien Martin. But they had enough runs to get a really big total. And then it was... and of course, it was only after New Zealand avoided the follow-on themselves that they declared on 287 for 8, I think. So that was very enterprising there from Stephen Fleming. Golden duck in the first innings for him, but Hassel, McMillan, and Cairns put on some really big scores there, and important innings under the circumstances. And then in the New Zealand fourth innings, we had Richardson scoring a half century. Fleming got his act together with 57. Hassel got 49, and again, it was Cairns again with a couple of big sixes that very nearly took them to victory, but I think they just ran out of steam near the end. But this particular match was subject to another wonderful article, and I'm going to send you that in the private chat as well. So just read that on your own time. I'm not going to talk about it.
Sure.
But again, with Chris Cairns, he was the best all-rounder in the world at the time. Who's going to be our Chris Cairns? Who's going to be our Ben Stokes? Those are the big questions that Fleming and company are going to have to answer. And so, Stokes is not someone who can be replaced very easily, but we've got to make a better effort of it than asking Dan Lawrence to become a batting, off-spin bowling all-rounder.
Yeah.
I see that experiment falling flat on its face, but I am still quietly confident of an England victory, if only because I just don't think this Pakistan team will, be able to... I just don't think they can really get it together unless we, have it on place. And if we're smart, we're not going to be complacent, especially after what happened against New Zealand and the fallout from that.
Yeah.
We've learnt the hard way. You've got to respect your opponent, and you've got to respect yourself enough to know how to play, how to value your wicket, and how to make sure that you respect the batsman enough not to give them free hits. So... Yeah.
But New Zealand found us out as well. They found us out. They got the wicket keeper up to the stumps. Great wicket keeper as well, that guy. Brilliant. And, well, what was his name again, wicket keeper? I'm trying to think of his name now. The New Zealand one.
Let me find that out.
What was his name now? He's a hell of a wicket keeper. Though. He was amazing.
Yeah, I'm just going to find that out for you because we'll find out the details, obviously.
Not many could do that. Are really good up at the stumps, are they?
Yeah, not at all by any means. And let's
and then again, they didn't have a fast bowler. It was quite a medium pace. Was it a medium pace one that was bowling?
Yeah, the New Zealand wicketkeeper was a bloke named Tom Blundell.
Blundell, isn't it? Blundell. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's brilliant, I thought. He was brilliant wicketkeeper. And we haven't got one like that at the moment. We could have, and we know where one is, but he won't fucking play him.
Yeah, but listen, mate.
I'm blue in the face, mate. But,
yeah, you can keep saying that, but again, it's the balance of the team that's important. And of course, one of our greatest ever wicketkeepers, Robert Charles Russell, had his birthday today. So, Jack, sir, happy birthday to you.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Always a superior wicketkeeper, but was always, mucked around because the England selectors wanted balance, and we all know how that panned out for him. So, I think we're just going to have to make sure that we, get our own balance right and have. I mean, if we had a real, genuine all-rounder, we could afford to play a specialist wicketkeeper who could, do an excellent job keeping wicket. But I just don't know if we're going to have the enterprise to do that. And that's where I think Fleming's going to have a big role to play. He was a very enterprising captain. He had some enterprising players under his command when he was leading New Zealand. And I hope he can transmit some of that magic to our test team.
So really, can you predict what's going to happen in this first one, Manny? Can you see a big win for England here, or close, or do you think it's going to?
Listen, I'd like a decent win. It's not going to be a very big win per se. I'd be more than happy with a win by about 70 runs or six or seven wickets, depending on what we do. The problem is, if we win the toss, we are going to have to make sure that we bowl first and make sure that our bowlers take advantage of the pitch first up. And that means that Archer and Atkinson are going to have to get their lines spot on. No freebies, no wide deliveries. And if they can do that and have the Pakistani batsmen hopping, then, we're almost halfway there. And at least we don't have to worry too much about chasing a very big total.
I mean, they're saying that there might actually be some rain as well. So I don't know whether that'll have any effect on it. I don't know.
It might not. If we know the forecast for the days of play, we can sort of predict how play could potentially go. I don't see the rain necessarily affecting the wicket as much. But again, obviously, the stop-start nature would mean that, we're going to have to change our game plan, of course. And
well, we need some rain here, let's be honest. So it would be great, but that's just for everyone else here that needs the rain rather than the cricket match, because it's been boiling. It's been, boiling again. So. Oh
yeah, absolutely. And it's also on a tragic note. I've been reading quite a few stories and seeing some news items about several homes in the West Midlands being engulfed in flames. There's been some bad fires over there in the area, and Edgbaston wouldn't be too far away from that. And so all of you living in the West Midlands, both Steve and I send our prayers, and we hope that you will all be safe, and that you'll find a way. If some of you have also lost property and belongings and money in these fires, so there have been some lives tragically lost as well. So I hope that the families involved will find some comfort and solace and some help from the government and the responsible authorities.
Yeah, I agree. Concur there. Totally. I hope they're safe people and get people out of burning places that are on fire. So let's hope so. But anyway, Manny, I mean, it's there was a lot to talk about there. I think we've done well. I mean, we've gone over an hour or so again. It's 1 hour 45. But and it was later than I was hoping it was going to be but I got engrossed in the other preview that I was doing, obviously, talking about the Bees and Tottenham on Saturday. So
please tell me you had some nosh before doing your preview, mate.
Thankfully, I did. Yeah, I did have a bit.
Absolutely.
So otherwise, I would have been totally starving by now. I've been Hank Marvin as usual. So, but no, but that was good, and I enjoyed this. It was great to talk because this was delayed for a while. We needed to get into this and talk about the new head coach and obviously a new old captain coming back. So, but yeah, I'm glad in a way that we got that sorted out. I mean, okay, I would have preferred Jonathan Trott maybe, or as the coach, or who else we were saying, Dravid or whatever else, But we got Stephen Fleming. We got to give him a chance, obviously, and see how he gets on. He's going to be a little, as you say, yin and yang to McCullum. He's, different to him in a way, isn't he? He's not going to be bish bash wallop, I don't think. So we're going to get hopefully some more smart cricket rather than brainless cricket that we've had before recently. So
that's right, yeah.
I think it's going to be. It could be good. We could have a really good coach here. So I'm just hoping, and we'll see. I mean, if we beat Pakistan, I'd easily say we win 3-0. Do you think that's any bearing on what will happen later on down the line? Say South Africa is going to be really hard, isn't it?
Yeah, the answer to that question was actually given in one of the articles we shared. I believe that was Cricket Info, where it was said that we might gently celebrate this win and move on. And even then, the worst thing we can do is think that a win is a foregone conclusion, not by any means. We've got to work hard to make sure we get the win, series win. If we have a whitewash, a 3-0 whitewash, that would be, something that will give us quite a bit of confidence going forward. It will definitely improve Ruti's captaincy stats, which will be a nice thing for him. But, just another reminder that you are only as good as the next test you play. And conversely, you're also only as good as the last test you play. So there are no guarantees in sport. You have to make sure you keep your feet on the ground. Let's just focus on doing well against this Pakistan team and making sure that we do ourselves justice. I don't want to see, as you've said, I don't want to see brainless cricket. I don't want to see irresponsible cricket. If we lose and we lose playing well, then I guess we can accept that because that is the nature of the game. Although you and I will both be fit to be tied if we were to lose. But I just want to see a new approach where we start to be a little bit more responsible, if not necessarily pragmatic or conservative, a little bit more responsible and thinking on our feet more than anything else. So if we can do that, knowing when and how to do things, I think we can start to say that we're turning a corner. But that series against South Africa will be definitely key around about Christmas time, of course. And, hopefully we don't turn into turkeys out there in the South African heat.
Not get stuffed,
Stuffed and roasted, don't forget.
Yeah. True. No, I mean, that is going to be a really hard test series against South Africa, but we're not there yet. We're don't go there yet. We get this one out of the way, Pakistan, and see what happens. That's all we can do, and we'll obviously do a review about it and talk about it. So I don't. Yeah, we leave it till after the whole series. We do a review of the whole series probably. I think it'd be best, But yeah, hopefully we'll win. Hopefully it'll be convincing and no stupid cricket, as we just said. We want to play. It's got to be a good balance of 50-50 and when to attack, when not to attack and defend and play sensible innings, really. That's what it's about. So I hope they can do that. I hope they've got the the brain to do it, the knowledge to do that, and because you don't know with some of them nowadays. I mean, Joe Root can do it. We all know Joe Root can do it, and that's something. But can he pass that on to other players, that knowledge, what to do? Or will they just go their own way of what they want to do? Like Harry Brook and, players like that. Harry Brook's an amazing player, but he can go a bit brainless, can't he, with what he does? So,
Statements.
We'll see, Manny. But anyway, it's been a great stream. Where can we find you, buddy?
Yeah, well, first of all, Steve, thank you for doing this. And I did say that, I really appreciated you having the commitment to get this done today, despite having done a long stream earlier, of course. That was, of course, the Brentford's first preview with Harry from Hasper TV. And to answer your question, you can find me here on your channel, the Fiver Football, which is where we also talk a bit about cricket. And I think you've combined the cricket and football into one channel, which I guess makes some sense. And it's a good way to go about it. And obviously, we'll be talking more about the England cricket team in the coming weeks and months, of course. We'll either be celebrating or belly aching, but like I said, I always do enjoy talking about this, and I've missed this, and I'm glad to be back. And I want to say thanks as well to Daz in the chat for coming in with his question. And maybe when people watch this on playback, they'll offer some comments as well. As far as Wales, you can find me doing a lot of football content as well, mainly with Up the Cherries and all departments, where we should be doing a Football Has a Problem stream about the cup competitions and how they're losing a lot of their, magic these days, or relevance, so to speak. Also, catch me on the Arsenal Voice with Rashid, where we do the starting 11 streams 1.5 hours before every Arsenal game. And we also have the Raise the Standard stream, where we sort of debrief what's been going on with Arsenal of late. We did win the dinner plate 3-0, but listen, that's a glorified dinner plate. It's a friendly, and only 8 teams since the commencement of the Premier League who have won the Shield have gone on to win the league, and Arsenal have not been one of those teams. So Arsenal fans who are getting giddy about subsequent great season, wind your necks in. William Saliba's out for months, and we still haven't replaced him. I think we've gotten rid of Gabriel Martinelli, but we still only have one established left winger. That's the new guy in Solis. So let's not get too giddy, all right? Be humble. That's all I'm going to say. And also on Hannah's Sports Hub, I recently did a watch along for the Super Cup final, which I absolutely enjoyed. Unai Emery's men showing Arsenal how to play a final against PSG with more courage and endeavour than we did. Such a shame a few defensive mistakes cost them in the end, but it was very enjoyable, and I think Villa will, cook in Europe this season. They could be a dark horse for the Champions League. You never know. And social media, Manny Fangadoro 1981 on Instagram and Threads. Manny26031981 on Twitter. That's my first name and my full date of birth. The old one got hacked. And I hope, obviously, to come back on Steve's channel again. And I once again have to apologize for going a bit too long. But Steve knows we have a lot to say about this stuff. We're just, passionate and articulate about it. And that's the way we roll, so to speak. But until the next time I see you all again, thank you all for joining in the chat. Thank you for watching on playback. And of course, as always, enjoy this upcoming week. Do unto others, ye of others do unto you, and don't do anything that Steve and I wouldn't do. But until then, from Steve and me to you, I bid you adieu. And it's time for me to get some sleep because I'm tired. It's quite late where I am.
Cheers, Manny. Thanks. You're always welcome, bro. You know, brother. So have a good night's sleep and stuff and everything.
You too.
Take care, man.
You too. And Steve, if you ever do,
he's frozen. Frozen.
No. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if you do get peckish, make sure you got some pot noodles handy.
No. Yeah, I will, mate. Don't worry, bro. You take care anyway. Cheers, Manny. Thanks, team. Brilliant, great stream. And I'm going to go myself because it's getting late. Well, gone 11 now. 1 hour 55 I've done on here, me and Manny. So it's took a while, but it was good to talk about it. Needed to, but come on, England. Let's hope we do well. I will do a review afterwards, of course, of the whole series, how we get on. We'll see. But anyway, please follow me on, obviously, on Insta, Mr. B for Life 182, and Discord, Steve the B, and Mr. B Hive Football Chat, this channel, of course. And smash those likes, keep subbing, sharing, everything, guys. Please do that. Obviously, this is also the cricket as well. I do cricket on here, as you know now, doing this one. So not just football. But anyway, guys, I'm getting myself out of here. But until maybe tomorrow, there might be one tomorrow, transfer stream or whatever. But who knows? We'll see. See what happens with the bees, of course. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get myself out of here. Cheers, everyone, for watching. And I'm out of here. Cheers, guys. Take care.